Hello and welcome back to the PLP. It's technically the international break, load of players jetting off for the start of some World Cup qualifiers, I believe, but there's simply no time for international duty for a few of us drafted sides, especially the one looking at us right there, Dan City Y, who have a mammoth amount of games to get through, including this EFL Trophy semi-final with Leeds UniTodd. There are 5 games in total today, which is perfect because we can show them all. This semi-final plus 4 League 2 games, 2 of which are all drafter clashes. I'll sort of talk through what the week in store has this international break, that does have a splattering of action for us. I don't know if they'll get postponed nearer the time, but as things stand, the international break isn't stopping us, or not everyone at least. And we're actually starting in League 2 and get my game over and done with. So yesterday I had a bit of a look through the remaining fixtures for everyone. Had a bit of a nerd day, as many people mocked, as if this thing couldn't get any nerdier already. Just to try and work out who's got what left and what that might mean for the final league standings, because it's obviously quite staggered at the moment in terms of games played. I'm one of those that sort of tip the balance, about 6 or 7 games behind some other clubs. And of my games remaining, I think 4 of them are against non-drafted teams, such as this game against Man Utd C. I've actually got a double header with them. Something that the soon-to-be departing Sir Bobby seems to be taking very lightly. He stuck Lewis Miley in for his debut today, which, to be fair, I do love to see, as long as it ends in 3 points, because realistically, I need 3 points from those 4 games. Elsewhere, it's tough trips and tough matchups against other drafted teams. I am still looking okay for the playoffs potentially, but only if I pick up all those wins against these non-drafted sides. Arise, Steve Watson. So yeah, like I said, I did a bit of, I don't know if anyone remembers, on BBC Sport, you used to be able to sort of predict the remaining scorelines when it got towards the end of the season. I kind of did a abridged version of that yesterday, for the teams that are likely involved at the top half of the table. I came to a rough conclusion that I think there are 2 teams stand out for automatic. I won't say who they are, but I'm sure most people would come to similar conclusions. Then I think that 3rd spot is up for grabs. I think there's at least 1 or 2, maybe even 3 teams fighting for that final automatic spot. Anyone who misses out obviously will be in the playoffs. I think there's 1 other that are destined for the playoffs as well. And then I reckon there's about 5, if not 6 teams that will be fighting for those 2 lower playoffs spaces. It's really difficult to anticipate because of the games in hand, the likes of myself, the Red Wall, the Sky Lews, Bustin Villa even. A lot of us have games in hand. And the onus is obviously on us to actually win those games in hand. And, I mean, as we've seen with Dan C in recent weeks, one of the teams that I don't think will necessarily figure could just go on a run of 5 or 6 games like they have and suddenly be right at it. I mean, Daniel C are now sitting in 4th. It wasn't so long ago they were about 16th. So it really is going to be tight, and anyone could have a free fall the other way. We've seen quite violent swings in form throughout the season for a lot of teams. Nice to see Peter Beardsley at centre mid with Lewis Miley now. He's babysitter for the final 20 minutes. The Lewis Miley acquisition from the waiver wire in January actually brings up quite a difficult summer ahead for me. Part of my nerd out yesterday was working out the potential draft situation this summer and the expectation that everyone has to bring their squads down to at least 25. If they bring them down to 24, then they'll get... Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. If you brought your squad down to 24, it would be a bit silly, because all you'd get is a random round pick to bring yourself back up to 25. But anything below 24 affords you a random round pick and draft picks to eventually get back up to 25 again. Now I've got a squad. I think I've now got the third largest squad in... Come on. Of all drafters. I think a lot of the teams of Craig, Zig, a few others have had massive culls to bring their squad size down. And I think it's only 2 or 3 that are now more bloated than me. So it would take quite a mammoth effort to reduce my squad size and draft this summer. And I'm not the only one. And now we're darting to the highlight of the evening for some reason. And I think, I'm not giving too much away from my geeky predictions yesterday to say that Wyman probably isn't in the mix for the playoffs. Alex could be. He could be in sort of that zone, like I said about Dan Gregory, where if he puts some results together, he could get back in the mix. But on paper, I'd say this game means quite a lot to both. I think this will be the last piece of major action for either team if they can reach that date in early April at Wembley, where they'll face off against Levi's full of Strange-Ham. Despite this being a battle for a trip to Wembley, it seems like about 40 people have turned up in the crowd at Elland Road. I presume it's at Elland Road. I can't imagine it's a neutral venue for this competition. I suppose Wyman does still have the Europa League as well. The draws for the Champions League, which Warringham are still in, the Europa League for Dan City Y, and the Conference League for the Sky Lews. Those draws are coming up on Friday for the quarters and semis. No. And like I say, going through the outstanding games yesterday, just doing a quick count, Wyman's still got 15 games to play, 14 after this one, and that's without the draws being made, so at least 16 after this, potentially up to 19 or 20 if he gets through to this final and gets to the Europa League final as well. I genuinely don't know if that can be fitted in. He's going to be playing his last league games in July. So I was looking at my fixtures yesterday with Tom of Dauntley's Devils, and after this international break, I've got a game every 3 days until the end of the season, and that just about gets me to playing my final day on the final day, my final game on the final day. So for Wyman, I'm not actually sure how that's possible to squeeze in more games. In fact, despite there being an international break, I think he's already got matches next Monday and Thursday. I'm not sure how many of his players are off on duty. So far, he's removing one from the potential fixture list. Leeds UniTodd very much in control in that first half. Charlton has been threatening that whole game. Leeds UniTodd heading for Wembley. Being said, actually, I just noticed that down City Y I've got neither Yaya Toure or Drogba in the lineup today. So it might be that some of those players have already departed. But then again, you'd think, well, I know in fact, I was looking through the international squads the other day, and Patrick Vieira is definitely on France duty. He should be gone as well. Pogba's same. They obviously deemed it necessary to get this business done and dusted first. Toure and Drogba couldn't be asked. Either that or Unai Emery has decided to sack off this competition, or just sack off the season, to be honest. The amount of games left, there's going to be some hefty rotation. No idea who got that assist. It's not the first time that a rogue youth player has had to pop up to sort of fulfill that rotation. It's a Richarlison hat-trick. Should be an interesting final, I think. Obviously the form book suggests that all the League One teams should have gone further in this competition, but it's only Levi that's made it to the end, and the rest didn't really get close, to be honest. I say on that note, it's not really a foregone conclusion that Full of Strangeham go on to win this. Leeds United have, I think, beaten at least one of the League One teams en route. They'll fancy themselves in that final. There he is. Obawav Wadudu. Assist and a goal. That's a name that lends itself to some easy chants. Obav Waduo. Joins Norwich midfielder Jacob Clark as Wyman's two best players this season. Well, he's off again, he can't be stopped. Of course, I don't. My knowledge of Wadudu is quite limited. I'm not sure if he's a Man City youngster, or he might even be a regen. We're probably not far away from regens making an impact if there are any worldies out there. Alas, congratulations to Alex, who will face off against Levi. I think it's on the 5th of April, whatever the nearest Sunday is. Back down to League 2, and the first of two all-drafter clashes. And if we thought that Wyman had a busy schedule, Louise isn't much better. Slightly better. He's only got 12 games left as things stand, out of all the cups, I think, minus his Conference League ventures, which could offer another 5 on top of that, so maximum of 17 games ahead of him, which has seen a lot of rotation in recent weeks. And one notable thing last week, in his last game, where he did somehow escape with a draw, but Sergio Aguero did start up front and was basically on his knees begging to come off after about 10 minutes. His fitness levels in the red, basically at kick-off. So an away trip of any sort isn't ideal for him right now. Yeah, you can see, why he's starting is ridiculous. He's got Edin Dzeko off the bench, who I think saved him in the last game. He's got Podolski. He's got a host of inherited Coventry legends. that I would personally love to see, like Noel Whelan or Darren Huckabee. But no, Aguero, he's spent most of his half tugging on an inhaler, I think. It was Paul Telfer at right back the other day, that was nice to see. I think Marcus Hall, the left back's also had a few games recently. Yusuf Chippo. So there have been a few Coventry icons getting some game time to try and rest some of the other legs. Not so much today though. And immediately it's Reyes who's made him pay. Strolled past those weary legs. There's going to have to be some changes. It's a bit of a weird one from De Zerbi, because I think it was the likes of Tielemans I saw come on in the last game. We only would have played about 15 minutes in that last match. Essien available on the bench, and yeah, he's got Sven Botman starting at defensive mid and still running Aguero ragged. Podolski and Elise not much better. Rio Ferdinand also taking in his last breath. There we go. Unlove, I forgot about him. Still Aguero's on. There he is, look at the pace. Oh, that's a good goal. He's got a deep squad. He's going to need it. Those substitutions. Pretty imposing, and immediately one of them scored. Again, it begs the question, when you've got the likes of Rashford, Nasri, Essien on the bench, why on earth would you start a half-dead Podolski? Oh no, it's Alexis McAllister. Got very excited by the idea of Gary then. And it could be a second 1-1 draw in a row. It is not horrendous with the games in hand. Again, a bit like me, he'll be hoping to pick up his big results against lesser opposition than Arsened. One team that probably would, under any other circumstances, take a draw here is Bustin Villa against promotion-chasing Warringham. But again, having looked at the situation yesterday, I think this is a game that Bustin need to win. He's got those games in hand, and he really could get into the playoff picture, which is very impressive considering the sort of adequate start to the season he had. But I think home games are a must-wins really. And he needs to pick up points against those above him. Starting here today, I'd suggest. Of course, as I've said previously, you basically have to treat it as if you're at least 1 or 2-0 down when you're playing against Haaland. Those are guaranteed to go in. You just have to make sure you score 2 or 3. So actually Matt completes the European set. He's still active in the Champions League. He's only got 7 league games, including this one, so 6 after this. Plus potentially 5 more, so he could get up to 11 matches between now and the end of the season. Which would seem a sizable deluge if you hadn't just seen Wyman and Louis and the strife they're up against. Interesting, there's no Poborski or Overmars today for the home team. Rotated the wingers. Got Diaby and Diaz, not horrendous replacements to be fair. part of the reason for that rotation, I think. Might have been Bustin Villa's pretty mammoth match-up in the FA Cup against White Hart Chamberlain the other day, where he lost in extra time. Potentially some tired legs here as well. Bustin's got 9 games left after this one. I think he is all done with the cups. Is he on? He is. Big goal. That strike force of Samuel Eto'o and Mark Hughes bedding in nicely after a kind of shaky start to the year. I think he looked offside. Actually, Tammy Abraham, who has just come on, he was brought in January, has been a pretty decent deputy, a more than decent deputy, when one of those two need a break. I think they're pretty ageing limbs between Eto'o and Hughes. What an introduction off the bench. Following in Rashford's footsteps in the previous game. Just turned it around. Got to feel there's another Haaland chance somewhere in there. So 1/3. But this could make the playoff picture very interesting. Be honest, I didn't. Oh, he's gone. I thought he'd do something else in this game. I wasn't expecting that. That is disastrous for Matt. That's 3 games of no Haaland. I mean, lovely to see Dean Ashton come on, but I'll be honest, I had Matt as one of those 2 pretty confirmed automatic promotees. Genuinely, that might change my mind. Without Erling Haaland, Champions League still to come. Of course, everything I say immediately is wrong. Dean Ashton's going to fire him to League One instead, but no matter what the result here, you could have done without that lunacy from Erling. Nice to see Ivan Campo as well. Not seen enough of him, I would suggest. Surely Ron needs to throw the kitchen sink to all against someone currently sitting within touching distance with 10 men. Oh, what a chance. Klopp's men, for some reason, have just hit the implode button. Red card, and now they're faffing around in front of their own goal. More than once. Fino FM, not normally positive signs. But again, what do I know? It's quite miraculous how much I say things that immediately turn out to be wrong. Again, funnying about in their own goal. It's Eto'o, he's offside, isn't he? That one definitely is. And I was going to say, this feels like 2 points lost. It didn't even let me finish speaking this time. Is someone going to grab a dramatic winner? Surely Warringham couldn't. It's a pen! The implode button has been well and truly battered in the second half from Warringham, and Lampard's missed it! What's he done? That could be huge in about 6 weeks' time. Chaos at Villa Park. Final game should be relatively calm compared to the others. You'd expect a nice easy win for Cheshire. In a similar boat to me, actually, a bit further along in terms of his league positioning, but he's also played a few more games. Very much in that playoff picture, if not, it could get slightly better. Drop points for Warringham means an opportunity here, and 3 points against non-drafted teams, especially at home, is an absolute must. He's gone out pretty strong. In terms of his lineup, I thought maybe a bit like Sir Bobby, Ange would ring the changes. He's obviously decided that the likes of Roman Bednar, Marc-Antoine Fortuné, Alan Neon, they need full strength opposition. Nice to see Robert Huth and Wes Morgan shepherding the back line. Combined height of 26 foot. Good move there. Just trying to work out who's the West Brom B manager these days. Not sure if it's the same as when we started the project. Leading, but it hasn't been as comfortable as I maybe expected for Chesh so far. Initially it was Gary Megson. I looked down for a second, and it's 1-1. Grzegorz Kukowiak not doing what Frank Lampard did earlier. Buries it top bins. This would be a really poorly timed 2 points dropped. Quite bizarre, to be honest, as well. There's been no sign of Cheshampton falling off a cliff. He's definitely got tougher challenges to come than this. He's also still got the FA Cup to navigate. Comfortably dispatched Wolves C the other day to make the semi-finals. He's got 15 minutes to salvage this. Klinsmann, he's saved Chesh on a number of occasions already this season. In a bit of a rough patch of form of late, but can he do the business? And scrape over the line. I was expecting sort of a 5-0 whitewash, to be honest. Also a timely reminder to the rest of us that these games aren't just gimmies. Arteta again going for glory from 30 yards himself. Barry this time. Time's running out. Did not expect this. That's another draw to a day of draws. That everyone drew except for me. I think I'm the big winner today for a change. In terms of that race 4 promotion. Yeah, look at that. 1-1, 2-2, 1-1. And I've moved up into 8th, as we'll see here. Suddenly my positioning looking a bit healthier. But Cheshampton, points lost. Bustin, opportunity lost, I would say. The Sky Lews, just trying to keep their head above water, keep treading water, I should say. I think Aguero is about to drown on his own, to be honest. And a good day, I'd also say, for Dauncey's Devils. Warringham have now joined them on 40 points, and a few weeks ago it looked like 40 games. You know, a few weeks ago we'd have said that once Warringham was on 40, he'd be a few points clear of Dauncey, his good friend Tom. He's actually ended up 5 points behind. Like I've said, getting those points on the board should be hugely beneficial, and I think that's been a good day for him. And I'd say it's been a good day for White Hart Chamberlain, but barring an absolute disaster with his 5 games in hand, he should be alright. So yeah, any sackings? No. Anything to say before I sign out is congratulations to Alex for making the EFL Trophy final. Like I say, that's in early April up against Levi. In the meantime, we've got, I think, 1 game the weekend. I think it's just Manchester staff down in the NLP, and then we've got a couple of games next week over the course of Monday and Thursday next week before a full round next Saturday. Like I said, don't know how the internationals will impact that. We might get some postponements, but I'll keep you all updated. Enjoy the peace and quiet in the meantime.